Hi, I'm Davy Diaz. I'm teaching out of Sacramento, California, and I've been working with Swing for a little under 6 months so far. So over the summer when I was looking for jobs, I was on Indeed a lot. And I think just based on my resume, it kept popping up. And I had remembered when I was a classroom teacher, there had been Swing subs on my site. So I knew it was a real thing with real people in schools in my area. And so that kind of piqued my interest. I started looking into it and I found that the onboarding process was very streamlined and very easy to navigate. And it didn't require much of me to get into the game. And I felt like it was a fast and easy way for a credentialed teacher, especially to get back in if that's what they wanted to do. I typically don't use the filters just because I'm amazed at the wide array of things in my area and I like to have those options. But if I am specifically looking for a site, I will filter, ninth, 10th, 11th, 12th grade, which is what the adult ed is under. But I will filter if that's something that I feel like I'm going to be in the mood for that week and I want to go to. When I'm choosing an assignment, the first thing that I look for is whether lesson plans are provided. I find that it's much easier to slip in and see where the students already are instead of having to piece together from the anchor charts on the wall what they've already learned or things like that. But I think it's more effective when I know what to do going in. And I also look for proximity, close to home, close to my daughter's daycare. There's so many options around town, so there's lots of things to consider when choosing a job. Yeah, I've been to a lot of different campuses and they are all very different in the ways that they support you. Some schools help you step by step with the check-in process, give you a key, show you where the bathrooms are, staff lounges, things like that, everything that you would need to know on a day-to-day basis on campus. And that's always really helpful. And I've been to some campuses that I don't even know where the main office is. I just happen to see where the classroom is and I run in and I just get to work and go home at the end of the day. So there's a wide range of different kind of campuses, but I do really value the schools that take the time to make you feel comfortable and show you the lay of the land. So you don't feel like an outsider coming in. You feel like, okay, we're all working together to help these kids get through a day without their teacher. Some of the schools that have been a more rewarding experience are the ones that help you every step of the way and seem very excited when you come, because getting subs are hard nowadays. And so they feel appreciative and they're very welcoming and everything. And those are always the best days where everyone on campus makes you feel like you're part of it. And I really love when staff helps you and it's not just here we're the staff and you're the substitute. It's we're all here teaching for the kids. Sometimes the staff does make me feel like a part of the community in the staff lounge. At lunch times and at recess when we're on yard duty, they come and introduce themselves and tell me a little bit about the class that I'm in that day, just little notes and things like that. And just engaging me in conversation and asking how my day is going, that's always a really nice thing to feel. I can only really think of one off the top of my head. I was a PE teacher and I was kind of on my own little island. I didn't really talk to any teachers at all that day. They just brought their classes out to me and dropped them off and then left. So having days where you don't have a lot of staff interaction makes it much more difficult to get through the day. You don't get any of your questions answered. You have to go seeking things like where is the bathroom and where can I eat my lunch and what time is this thing happening. So I think staff interaction is something that's necessary. And the sites that don't have that, they're harder to navigate and get through the day. I've recently got into the field of adult education through Swing, and I have never done that before. And I find that I really like it. And it's not something that I knew about myself before. And so anytime I see those pop up, I go back because it's just a completely different dynamic than teaching children. Every day is so interesting. The questions that they ask are so varied, and the content that you deliver is something that they can implement immediately. And it's really cool to see that. And I find myself going back to those sites over and over again because it is just a very different kind of rewarding. So before I started working for Swing, I was a fifth grade teacher in a local school district for the last 7 years. And I recently left my permanent classroom and I became a substitute. So my view of education and what I knew was based on one school site, one grade level, one area. I kind of had my blinders on. And, being with Swing, I was able to try so many different campuses, so many different subjects, PE teacher, adult education, some just things that I had never had anything to do with before. And so it's eye-opening. So I had a daughter, she'll be 2 in a couple weeks now. I also taught in a really rough part of town. And I couldn't give myself to my students and then come home and give myself to my daughter. And the behaviors at that school site were so out of control. I was just emotionally and mentally drained by the end of the day. And I was getting to the point where I hated going to work every day. I hated interacting with the kids constantly. It was just negative interactions. I hated dealing with parents. It became too much. And so I quit with the intention of going into a different field from education, but I just found myself perusing postings for education. I was like, I guess I'm still into it. So I tried this and I figured it was a good way to get a taste of everything. It showed me that I didn't hate teaching. I just really disliked the position that I was in. Maybe it was the environment, maybe it was the school site. I was not in the right spot that I needed to be, I think, to enjoy what I was doing. Working with Swing has made my work life much more flexible than it ever has been before, because you get to choose where you work and what hours you work. You don't have to worry about calling in sick or using your vacation days or anything. It's just a much more flexible way of living and working. I can take days off when my daughter has an event at her school and I can go and be with her, and I don't have to worry about finding coverage for my class because I am the coverage. So it's really nice. When I'm at a site, especially for a long-term position, I am someone who's not very shy about asking questions. So I generally approach people and ask for the things I want, because I find that, you won't always get the answers you want unless you ask the questions that you have. So I have no problem asking people for help and what did the previous teacher do? And what would you like to see done in this classroom? Because at the end of the day, it's what the students need. And no one knows that better than the people who are with them every day, whether it's their classroom teacher or their grade level team, or even admin. So I always ask questions. If you want to create a welcoming environment and one that subs want to go to, I think it's very important to be welcoming and to make them feel like they're part of your school community because they chose to be there, and we want to help your students. And I think the way that subs can do that best is by feeling like they're part of the group and that they're valued for what they're doing. Because it is hard going into a classroom where you don't know routines and expectations, and we are really putting ourselves out there every day. And as much support as you can possibly give a sub, the better. There is ways that schools can show that they're supportive of you before you go on campus. I've seen a couple different listings that say escalation procedures. They have them listed. So if there is a behavior concern, or if there's an emergency or something's happening, you know exactly what steps to take. And I think that's huge, because when you are a substitute, you don't know the escalation procedures or who to call for help. And having that just right out the gate makes a sub feel very comfortable and safe and secure and supported. And it's a very real thing, even if it's not an actual emergency. Behavior problems are very common. And especially with a substitute, that's something that you do need to be realistic about at a school site. So outlining exactly what steps a sub should take in the event of a behavior issue or an emergency is very important, I think. I mean, just realistically, when I was teaching, I taught in a rougher part of town, and I had some kids who didn't even behave for me. And so there was, generally kind of no hope if a sub came in. And so they would have steps to take, like, okay, if this person acts up, just let me know. The admin would come and take that student out and find a different placement. Just, realistic day-to-day things that will help keep the classroom going, I think, are important in a school site, because often those aren't new behaviors that are popping up. So, just being ready for almost the inevitable or the expected, I think, is important.